Okay, so I've been reading Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. It's a great book. It chronicles the challenges that we are facing in medicine 2.0, what Peter calls medicine 2.0, which is what you're trained in, what I'm trained in, and the problems that have arisen because of that, which is, hey, we have a longevity problem. We can keep people alive, but they're disabled. And so for 10 or 20 years, their lives just aren't that great. And what Peter's saying is, hey, how do we maintain our quality of life all the way through to death? Instead of being alive and then kind of being disabled and alive, how do we maintain our quality of life all the way through and then suddenly die at the end? And this is valuable. This is valuable. This is of value. This is a conversation that needs to be had. Now, it's interesting because the book documents Peter's original belief that nutrition was everything. And so there's 2 chapters in this book, which I've finished reading. Haven't finished the book, just finished the chapters, just for clarity there. It's very interesting. And he basically suggests that despite all the difficulties with how to lose weight, which diet's better, that essentially at the core of it comes down to 2 things. Number 1, don't eat too much. And that's obviously a problem. 2 particular problems are 1, sugar drinks, also known as soft drinks or soda pop in America. And number 2, fruit juice, because both of those will spike glucose substantially. That whether I drink a can of Coke or whether I drink a glass of orange juice, they will both release large amounts of glucose into the bloodstream. That's not so good for us. Now, the second thing is not becoming protein deficient. And this is quite interesting. It's like, hey, if you restrict how much you are eating, you put yourself at risk of losing lean muscle mass. And lean muscle mass is going to decline anyway. That as you get older, as I get older, as we all get older, after maybe 30, then lean muscle mass starts to decline and protein is critical. So his thoughts are any kind of diet restriction has to be sure to include protein, except in very exceptional circumstances. And he gives those exceptional circumstances, which is people who are unable to lose weight any other way. And then he puts them on like a 5 or a 7 day fasting, not quite fasting, very low calorie diet. And then sugar restricts them and energy restricts them the rest of the time, cramming in the protein, because those people can lose the weight and they're losing fat faster than they're losing protein. And so it's justifiable. Basically, it's like rebooting the computer, but except for diets. Now, most of us don't need to do that. Most of us must conserve protein or lean mass, and do that by eating protein. Now, this was all very interesting. Do you know how much training I had in med school about this stuff? Not much. How much training did you get in med school about this stuff? Well, maybe you got more than me, but most likely it was still not much. Why? Because these problems had not appeared yet. It's only in the reflections of us having solved the problems of infection, of infectious disease, of surgery, and suddenly these other issues have opened up. Now, what was even more helpful, though, was Peter's categorization of all diets. He's like, hey, no matter what you do, there's essentially only 3 types of diet. And this was useful. Number 1, you can count the calories or restrict the number of calories in total. Not really paying attention to what you're eating, but just say, hey, my target is 8,000 calories or 8,000 kilojoules for the day. I'm going to eat less than that. I'm going to eat 7,000. But this means you have to track. You have to track how much you're eating and then also have the discipline to stop when you're doing it. Now, the problem with this is that you can end up extremely hungry if you choose poorly. And number 2, you got to track. Now, most people struggle with tracking, and that's okay. So there was 2 more types. Number 2 was diet restriction. Hey, I'm not going to eat this particular thing. Now, he's like, hey, this could work if that particular thing is abundant in the diet and is providing too many calories. Then if you cut that out, then that may make a difference. And this is like, okay, I'm not going to eat gluten because gluten's in a lot of dense carbs, pasta, bread. No more of that. Okay, this could work. Number two, it could be I'm going to cut out potatoes. And because potatoes dense carb, hey, if you cut those out, then you will decrease the amount of overall energy. And it might work. If you cut out lettuce from your diet, it's probably not going to work. Don't see that too much, but the no lettuce diet is a one that's probably not going to work. Why? Because there's too many other things that are contributing to that person eating too much. Now, the third one was very interesting because it's been very popular, which is time restriction. 16-8, 5-2, you've probably heard of these. Now, 16-8 was really interesting because, Peter, I didn't know this. Perhaps you did, but I didn't know this. He's like, hey, 16-8 came from mice. Now, mice live a whole lot shorter than humans. They live like 3 years. We live a whole lot longer, like 90 years. And he was saying an 16-8 diet for the mice is more like 2 days on, 2 days off, and then eat for 1 day. 2 days off, eat for 1 day for humans. It's substantially more than what were many humans doing. And his suggestion was that just going to a 16-8 diet isn't going to be enough caloric restriction to actually have any impact. So he had been on things as extreme as 24. So basically eat for 4 hours, take 20 hours off. He still said people can put weight on, which was crazy. It's like, how could you possibly do that? But if you eat for 4 hours a day, but you eat an excessive amount, then you're still going to put on weight. So the overall take was, hey, here's the takeaways. Number one, make sure there's enough protein in your diet. Number two, no matter what it is, whether it's a caloric restriction, whether it's a dietary restriction, whether it's a time restriction, the purpose is to make sure that you're eating less than the amount of energy that you expel for the day. Don't know if that was quite, it wasn't quite right. Like, the intake has to be less than what you burn up, and therefore you will be losing weight. It's very helpful information. Go check out this book, Outlive. Will help you, will help your patients. And I think this is where we're heading. Most people are not going to die from a pneumonia or from a tuberculosis, but they will suffer long-term disabilities from the diseases that we are facing right now. Diabetes, dementia, cardiovascular disease, cancer, chronic kidney disease, peripheral vascular disease, all chronic diseases. All right, that's all I got for you. Go check out Outlive. Hope you have an awesome day. I'm going to go hang out with my kids, watch my son play basketball, pick up my older son from soccer, and then head home, have some dinner. All right, hope you have an awesome day. See you next time.